Welcome to all Ladies League Global Networking once again, because have become a tradition to start adding and adding more topics. This one of books with bestseller authors in Spanish and in English, but also sustainability, gender equality, solidarity, meditation. We are becoming bigger and bigger, and we realize that for global networking, we need all the topics that make us our life better. Seeking peace, maybe that would be a great summary. Don't you think so? Birgitte, you are very welcome.
Oh, thank you very much, Mar. Thank you for having me here. Yes, it's an honor to be able to contribute to the organizations and to you and to everybody well-being through Seeking Peace and all the work that we do together as sisters.
Birgitte, today is in all our series of conference that we like to name it as intimate conversation, isn't it? Not as conference. Even if you are an expert, a bestseller author, so successful, but even that you have the generosity to share with us this intimate conversation. So lovely. Thank you. Seeking Peace, 5-finger method. We are now on the second method, second finger. The first one was thumbs up. Yes. And now is chameleon fingerprint. Chameleon fingerprint. Also the name, it sounds so mysterious, so magical. So Birgitte, why chameleon fingerprint and why we are going to explore all that mystery?
Well, for two reasons. So we're on the second finger now, which is your second finger, your pointer finger. And your pointer finger is the finger that's most commonly used when you do fingerprints. So sometimes we do thumbprint, but when you do fingerprint, you use your pointer finger, your second finger to do fingerprint, as well as when you are touching and feeling things, you often use your pointer finger, your second finger as well. And the reasons I call these chameleon fingerprints is to remind all of us that for two things. First of all, we're talking about adversity. We shared in last week and in a couple months ago that grief is the unsettling feelings that caused by a change in your familiar routine. It's not only from death, divorce, or dire diagnosis. And one thing we want to know, and particularly as we discuss these chapters, and for you to remember, is everybody different from time to time. Your feeling is different from time to time, and grief is like chameleon. The reason it's called chameleon is it's like a chameleon. It can morph itself into something else. Many times grief does not shows up as sadness. It might shows up as sadness, but depending on the cause, it might not show up as sadness at all. It could be irritation, could be anger, could be depression. It could even be physical symptoms. So it's kind of a little bit like, I called it in here, the shape-shifting chameleon, where it can disguise in many ways. And then the fingerprint. We all have feelings. Our feelings change from time to time. And many times, we feel and we are told by people we should feel this way, and you should feel that way. But just like your fingerprints are meant to be unique, your feelings and you are meant to be unique. So that's why it's called chameleon fingerprint in summary, to remind all of us that grief can disguise itself in so many forms, and therefore we want to be mindful about that, because in the last month we shared about how we want to be able to acknowledge and honor that promptly. And then we also in here to remind all of us that you and your feelings are like your fingerprints, meant to be unique.
Mm-hmm. Amazing, Birgitte. And for a chameleon fingerprint, we need chameleon women, isn't it? Chameleonic women that adapt to all situations, that we love to have you here, Clarissa Romero. It's a transformational coach and author, also from New Jersey. You're very welcome, Clarissa. Tanya from Michigan, Tanya Maitox, that is a consultant in ethical manners and also a coach. So please tell us, what do you think about this mysterious chameleon?
Oh, Chameleon Finger, Bridget, I'm absolutely so enjoying your book. And this chapter 2 was, for someone, I thought I understood emotions and emotional intelligence well, but I was so taken aback by the fact that we have 40 different causes of grief.
Yes.
So that really surprised me, and I would love to hear more about that. But I have to share that as someone that loves hacks, especially brain hacks, I really have to commend the use of metaphors and acronyms and ways for our brain to index emotions, which are like a chameleon. I found this really, truly fascinating and transformative to have this type of information. Because a quick anecdote, back in the day during my first marriage, my ex-husband, when he lost his little brother, at the time, I thought that he took on what I guess that grief, which I wasn't really I knew that he had grief, but I wasn't understanding the resentment that I felt that he was directing towards me. And in reading your book and in this chapter, it was like this huge aha that most likely, and I would love to hear what you have to say about it as the expert, that I guess he unconsciously or subconsciously was resenting me for having moved away from the home and somehow feeling like maybe he couldn't prevent the death of his little brother. It was really it was almost like the beginning of like the downfall of our marriage. So I was really touched by this chapter. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes. So as you mentioned, there are 40 more than actually 40 different causes of grief. And anything basically, as we shared in last month, anything that cause change in your familiar routine can cause you to experience unsettling feelings, which can brought about grief. And with your and that is just one thing. In the book, you see the chapters. What you shared just now make me think about the sections that's called Loveless Honeymoon. And so that's not your honeymoon, but it was a change that, you move away and then you feel separated. And people don't realize that even something like moving and retirement, which also we share, and even like welcoming a new family member, like a new babies or something, can cause a lot of unsettling feelings that cause grief. And I, with your husband in a little bit, we share this where when you have grief, and yes, you are grieving, but sometimes depend on how you navigate and manage your grief. And perhaps if it is not being navigated and managed and resolved in a way that would have been favorable, then it can mutate and transform, and we have almost like a redirected aggression, and it's become buried. And then grief to me also a little bit like lava. If you ever think about lava, it's hot and it's burning, and if you try to bury lava, and the lava is indeed in the natures, it's buried inside of the mountain or something, but you really cannot bury them. That's why you have lava. If you continue burying them and pressuring them, eventually something happens and it's explode, or it's actually just seeps away, go to somewhere else, which unfortunately in your scenario, Clarissa, it sounds like he felt that, yes, there was the guilt. Perhaps that's we actually talk more about guilt in the next chapter 3, but guilt and everything that he looked back, and sometimes when things happen, people tend to overthink as well, which also that part we'll talk about in next chapter. But he kind of like, take it, and we share this in these chapters, how you start creating resentment, and then you start redirecting it in a different way to somebody who is a completely innocent bystander, and that's something that can happen, and we see it happen a lot. If you ever see, I share this in the, I think explosive edit is the sections that it's called, where somebody just like very volatile and on super sensitive. Anybody ever has those? What is it they call it? The push button where you somebody, you have your triggers. You have your triggers where somebody says something and you just like and that's often that's comes from something that had happened and unresolved.
Thank you. Tanya, another chameleonic woman. What do you think about this special chapter?
Oh, Bridget, this was just so incredible. It opened up a lot for me, and especially in the past month since we spoke. The chameleon fingerprint. I remember stories from women whose husbands have retired, and they have often said, oh, he's just getting on my nerves. He's always under my feet and this, that, and the other. And reading your book, I've recognized for them and in their situations that it's because they had a familiar routine. And then when husband retired and was home, that changed and that caused a disruption. So that was just really incredible to read that. And one real great point that you made was in describing the method that we have all heard of, the different levels and stages that you go through in the grief process. I always associated that with death and dying. And I came to find out through reading your book that actually that book that was referred to, it was written for people who were terminally ill.
Yeah.
That was a real light bulb moment for me, and it really helped. I had a loved one who unfortunately passed away, and I could recognize those particular moments. And I see how thinking that it only pertains to death and dying, or it keeps you from realizing that you're going through other things in your grief process, like the irritation, the anger from maybe a traumatic incident, and then that was unresolved. I saw that in a young man who had had a traumatic incident happen to him, and that situation is unresolved, and he has an anger issue. So your book has been fabulous. It has opened my eyes to so many things. And the loveless honeymoon, oh my goodness. I think about the changes you don't expect. Like you said, you're going to get married. This is the love of your life, and you're expecting all this happiness. But the trauma of being married and maybe moving to the place where your spouse lived, it causes a period of grief for the things that you are no longer familiar with. So thank you so much. I'm really enjoying it.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Yes, it is something that a lot of time we want to say, sometimes we feel obligated. Actually, that's the thing. People's like, oh, you got to celebrate, you got new baby, you got new marriage, new life, new home in that you moved to a different area, and also new job. One of my clients actually, fairly recently, she was an executive at a place, and she started that. And talking about chameleon, her symptoms was not sadness or anything. She got promoted significantly, moved to a different place, different office, different town, and she started having stomach problem. And so much stomach problem, one after another, doctor visits and so forth, that she could, and then she started performing poorly at work. Now it's added to the whole thing. And long story short, after so many visits, the doctors could not find out why, and counseling, she got to the point, she came to me actually because she was losing her job, and she came to me for that grief, because she was losing her job. And we work through that. And as I listen, everybody to me is very special, and it's an honor to work with with you. And so I always listen and talk, and then we find out that, well, yes, she come to me for one thing, but it's actually the whole thing started back, and we resolve not just the current concern, but what bring this out initially. And amazingly, that her physical symptoms and her depression and her migraine and her stomach problem all resolved. And the best thing with this is, like you said now, Clarissa and Tanya, you recognize this. And so this has happened a long time ago. And see, when the pandemic happened and this and that, so a lot of changes, a lot of stress for all of us. She noticed that she started having stomach problem again in her work. She said, it was like a reminder to her. She said, oh my goodness, let me take a little bit look here, quiet down, look at my emotional well-being as well. And she recognized that, oh my goodness, yes, actually I'm experiencing grief. And the method that I teach when you come to me for working with me is actually a tool that you can use over and over. And so she immediately uses that again and resolve it without even needing to work with me again. So, but yeah, it is something that so many times people can get misleaded by grief.
Brigitte, there are 40 causes of grief. Clarissa, I started from that because it's really something really to highlight it, including supposed to be happy events. Supposed to be happy events, marriage, a new job, situation, have a baby, situation that seems to be about happiness and nothing more than that. But the shock of the change could create a disbalance inside us. Is that true, Brigitte?
Yes, and it is not for everybody, but a lot of people do notice that a lot of time, let's say, even when you move to a certain place, let's take marriage. You got married, you used to live as a single person. Now you want to take the other person into consideration. So that is a change. If you got married and you got to move, and of course, you are happy with that. And the thing that caused the problem is if it is actually normal. It's normal for you to feel the unsettling feeling, which in this particular case, you might feel, oh, I'm happy. Have you ever done this? If you ever moved to a place or moved to a different job or something, you're like, okay, yes, I'm happy. I am thrilled. I look forward to be moving. One of my assistants is moving to a different state in the United States. And she was very happy. She is so thrilled. Everybody very happy for her and her family as well. She's moving to this place that she always wanted to move. And at the same time, at the last couple days, she was sitting there and she was crying, and she was saying goodbye to everybody, and she was crying, and she told me, oh, it is so thrilling to move to where my dream place is. And at the same time, I'm so sad to this, oh, I'm going to miss that. And being my assistant, she knows to honor and acknowledge that, instead of initially, even being as my assistant, initially she was like, I'm not gonna cry. I'm gonna be strong. And I said, honey, you know better. You know this. You know this. You know that it's good for you to cry. It's normal and natural to feel all this mixture of feeling. And he said, oh yeah, that's right. And so she cried, we all cried, and it was like a little bit of a party at the same time. We all cried together, and at the end of the day, she already immediately feel better. But imagine if you said, I got to be happy, I'm getting married, I'm ready to do this, and then the part that you would have cried, you pant it down. Yeah. Well, now you buried your feelings, and feelings cannot be buried. You will find a way to come back, and it might be even at somebody who is not the cause of the feelings, like with your experience, Clarissa.
Brigitte, grief is like a chameleon. That is the conclusion of this chapter, because all grief, all shapes of grief, take a different shape of emotionally or physically. And what happened with that is that we don't know what is happened to that person. It's supposed to be happy, but he's not. Mm-hmm. And our comments, our behavior could be against that people. So many times it seems that we are not helping the people to get through all that grief. So that is the question. Do we are helping the people? Do we do it? Do we need to do it? Or is something that is totally individual? It's a question for all of you, and we are going to start, if you let me, Birgitte, with Tanya, and then we continue, please.
Oh boy, that chapter was really something. But do you help? It's difficult not to say, oh, I know how you feel, because we don't know how another person feels when they're grieving. Someone just lost their mother, and that was actually an irritating statement to hear from people, that for someone to say, I know how you feel. And they're like, you don't know how I feel. That was my mother. My mother is gone, and you can't tell me that you know how I feel. That is so true. And I really liked what you shared, Birgitte, when you told us that the best that we could do is let a person in that situation who's grieving, allow them to express their grief, and then let the person know you are there for them and you will help in whatever way they need. Don't offer your own suggestions. That's difficult. But the open hand, receiving the person with open hand, having a heart with ears, being able to hear what's going on actually in their heart, that is so important. It was so enlightening for me. I have a hard time receiving, and I like to just be quiet and closed off and let me deal with my grief. But it's also important for us in our grief process to be open to allow others to give to us in those difficult moments. So I really appreciated learning that through reading your book.
Clarissa, what do you think? We contribute badly to these processes in which the people hide their feelings, or just because they don't know that they're grieving, they just feeling bad, but they don't know why, because they're supposed to be happy.
Right. No, absolutely. I also wanted to echo what Tanya was saying, because I know that when I was dealing with my dad's passing, it made me really angry at the time, because you're so emotional, right? And you're obviously not thinking from your rational brain. That I know now. I didn't know that then. So it would make me really angry when people would say, oh, I know exactly how you feel, just because they had also maybe experienced the same kind of loss. But we are all different. We all have our own fingerprint. So when I was reading this chapter, it was just touching me on so many different levels, because also, I remember my counseling classes when they would tell you, don't tell someone that you know exactly how they feel, which is what we're taught. But I felt like they didn't really teach us, but then what do you say? Then what's the appropriate thing to say? And I really loved how Birgitte said, just listen. Just say, I'm here to listen. As simple as that. I just thought that was so profound and so true. But I also want to take this opportunity to say, Birgitte, this chapter was, the whole entire book is amazing, but this whole entire chapter resonated for so many different experiences, because many of us, we just go through life so almost emotionless, because we don't stop to pause and say and think, how am I feeling about this? Because even the positive, that is something that most people don't realize, that even positive things as planning a wedding, buying a house, they seem having a baby, they seem like happy things that you should be happy, but they can come with a lot of stress, and people don't acknowledge that. So amazing chapter with so many nuggets for hacks that can help you. So thank you, Birgitte.
Yes.
Birgitte, you have the final reply about this supposed to be happy event and our behavior as a society. Yeah. How can we contribute individually and as a society?
Yeah, the society has the society as we evolve, and it's funny that earlier you before we start this, you share about different custom and different cultures, Mar, because between people in Spain and then the US and so forth. So everybody has that, and then as the society evolve, at least here in the US and in many Western country, we go on this go mode, like you said, and also actually to we start having this, oh, you do this and you don't do that and so forth and so on. And many times, because there's so little informations about grief, there are a lot of misunderstanding about grief, which we shares a lot more in the next chapter. But we call it myth or misunderstanding about grief, like you thinks that you are feeling happy and then you feel bad if you are feeling, there are feelings you're not happy. Well, it's actually normal. Dr. Viktor Frankl says in an abnormal behavior or an abnormal feeling in an abnormal situation, which if you are moving and everything, that's an abnormal situation, is normal behavior and normal feeling. So it is normal, but we just not well informed about that. And because everybody different, because we all like our fingerprints, we're all unique. The best thing to do, unless somebody actually tell you, I feel this way and I feel that way, when something going on, simply say, I'm here for you. And if they feel like sharing, like talking, you can be there. You can be a listening ear with no judgment, just with love and compassion. And if some people, we never know, some people, particularly, this is something that common in caretaker. In other words, people who has been taking care of somebody who has been ill for a long time, they might have a sense of relief because it's been years and years of gruesome caretaking duty, and they feel a sense of relief. And then because of that, because many people have this misunderstanding, they feel guilty. And imagine with these people who just have the person just passed away, and you come to them and they are quietly feeling relief. Yes, they are sad, but they're feeling a lot of relief. And then many people say, oh, how I'm so sorry. I can imagine how bad you feel and all these things. And they actually not even feeling a lot of that. They just say, actually, I'm sad, but I'm relieved. And you saying all these things can sometimes make them feel even more guilty, if in addition to sad. So the book talk about being a heart with ears, and that is listen with compassion and no judgments and an open hand, where if somebody asks for help, we're there for them. And if not, then we don't have to hold their hands. Mm-hmm. And if you are experiencing it, you want to do the same thing for yourself. Be a heart with ears for you and an open hand to welcome support.
Lina Hidalgo is telling us active listening, 100% of active listening, no? To be more sensible for what others are feeling, or just not taking as normal as they have to be happy. So we are not going to make any we don't have to be cautious at all. No, we can say whatever we wanted. We just make it think beyond, that situation. 1 minute now to Clarissa, to Tanya, and then Brigitte. Be a heart with ears and open hands for ourselves and for others. You just give us a gift with this book, and with these last sentences are really a lesson for life. Thank you for that. Clarissa, we start with you, 1 minute only.
Just want to thank you, Brigitte, for helping us index our emotions correctly, at least start indexing grief and identifying it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Tanya, please.
Yes, thank you so much, Brigitte. Indexing our grief and active listening, being a heart with ears. I'm really challenged by that, and I will look forward to practicing that as I move forward. and being compassionate to others and allowing them to show me compassion and give if I'm in that situation. So thank you so much. Very important. Very important. And this really will help us to move through this pain and this change.
Mhm. Another message that we're receiving: to understand first, then be understood.
Yes.
You agree? You all agree with that, isn't it?
Yes.
So it seems, Brigitte, it is yours the last minute. Please tell us how we can change and help others and ourselves, please.
Thank you. Thank you. That's beautiful. And how we can change and help others. I would say the first place, actually, you just said that, Mar, to understand the best place to change anything is starting in ourselves. And for us to change us is understanding. If we want to be able to help other through changes, if we want to be able to help ourselves through changes, is through understanding by more educations, by reading books such as Seeking Peace or something else is that calls your heart. And so to understand and then to start the change in you, and when when we're able to help ourselves, we're able to help others. And so, and for everyone who are welcoming help, just know that if you are going through changes, if you are going through things right now, that you are not alone, that we're here for you. The whole everyone here, we are coaches, and you are welcome to reach out to me through all the venues we will provide at any time.
And we are here for you next month, because we are going to be next month with the third finger.
Yes.
Repeat the name.
The third finger is called muddled in the middle, and that's to unmuddle all the more misunderstanding that we have in our society. And that when you unmuddle things, you'll be able to see clearly and move through all your emotions and the challenge you have with even more ease and more, allowing more peace of mind and joy a lot easier.
Don't miss out. Next session next month, third finger. Ladies, it was a pleasure as always. Thank you so
Mom.
much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bridget.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.